Yes, I mean, it links fractals. The Fibonacci sequence is what you use to scale. And I mean, I've got all the pieces together. So I want to start putting the model together.
Okay, it looks like we're live on YouTube. I just want to double check here. Go back. Hold on one sec.
How is David? Sarita, how is
Sarita? Oh,
yeah.
Well, he seems fine. Are we live?
It says
We
we're
are live on
live, but I
YouTube.
don't know.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if we should
Trying to
wait.
figure it out right now. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it looks like we're live. Okay, hold on. I'm going to take a second here to run over to EVMux real quick, guys. Okay, so you just talk amongst yourself, but you are live.
Good.
But I don't know.
Okay. No, we should.
Trying to figure it out right now. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it looks like we're live. Okay, hold on. I'm going to take a second here to run over to EVMux real quick, guys. Okay, so you just talk amongst yourself.
Like I said before, sometimes we have got times in our head when things should happen and then they don't happen. Here we are half an hour later, a little bit more than half an hour later.
Oh, yeah. Well. Mm.
Maybe it has to do with the magnetic field, because Joanne, I was talking to Joanne Dunn a couple of days ago, and we were talking, and she was mentioning that apparently, like, last year, towards the end of last year, the magnetic field of the Earth has really gone quite haywire and was what experts call down, and been basically rebooted. And apparently, since the full moon on Saturday or Sunday, when the full moon was, basically the same thing happens with our physical body at this particular moment in time, that our entire magnetic field, magnetic system is down. That's why people may feel off, where people feel off-centered, and as a part of the, I believe, the upgrading system that happens on a cosmic level now.
Oh, wow. Cool.
This process seems to have taken place also on a physical level, which is quite interesting, really.
Yeah.
We can measure it as the Schumann resonance on the Earth, but I'm not quite sure how would you measure your magnetic field within the physical body other than through Kirlian photography and other instruments that actually show it. Is apparently it's different to your auric field. The magnetic field is different to the auric field, really.
Yeah. So I wouldn't know either. I mean, I think you can measure voltage with a voltmeter or something, maybe, but I don't know if that's going to be germane or not.
Okay, guys, I'm back. I wasn't able to, my video camera's on Zoom, so I wasn't able to go on EVMux, but I just sent them a message on there. So hopefully everybody can see. We are going to start admitting people though, and they are going to be on here live unless they view it. It's not just going to be the chat like it normally is. So, but I'm sure some of them are probably used to that.
Okay.
So let's take a couple minutes and just allow some people to join us. So welcome everybody. We of course had technical difficulties again. We'll get them worked out one of these days, but we really apologize for being late. We wanted to start at 1:11, which
Yeah.
Like Tomaz said, the universe had other things in mind for us. Divine timing, of course.
Yeah.
Let me.
Well, while you're waiting, I might as well make a few announcements, Lisa. Should I?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I mean,
And
a
I'll-
couple of things. I just found out, and I mentioned it to Lisa and Tomaz just a moment ago. There is a YouTube channel called Sri and Kira, SRI, and Kira, KIRA. So go check that out on YouTube. They are building, or have built, it looks like it's now completed, a Russian pyramid in the jungles of Ecuador. And it's quite tall, quite big. And I literally just discovered it. So I put in an email to them. I hope we can get them on to discuss their pyramid. And I think it's these people are very spiritual oriented, and this was being done actually, I think, by the native people in Ecuador were the people who actually built it. So that's number one. We haven't been on for a while, and I want to explain why. In part, I've spent the last month or so, I'm trying to put together a documentary that we're going to be putting out in the near future, including the book, and as well as George Leoniak's sacred geometry drawings, and a model of creation that we are developing, or we have developed, and we're trying to put together. And so all of that's going to be in this documentary. We're going to try to make this so that we can send this out to people and ask that they repost it on their YouTube sites and so forth as well, because I think this is information that's really critical and important. So just wanted to kind of let you be aware of that as well. And then lastly, it's part of that model building process. The torus this is the first time that this model incorporating the torus and the Fibonacci sequence and fractals and the platonic solids is all coming together. So I'm looking for someone who is a great modeler. Lisa put this in the newsletter, who would know how to model in 3D and model specifically with a torus. So if there's anybody out there that
Computer
would like
generated, right?
What's that?
Computer generated is what you want.
Yes, computer generated. That's right. Torus modeling. Please get in touch with me at Charlie at Stargate Pyramids, and we'll see what we can do. But we are, that's going to be the next step after we do the documentary. I'd love to get this animated and get it out to the world. So anyway, with that, I'll turn it over to whomever.
Yeah, well, that'll be me. But my excuse for not being on for a while is I don't even want to go into it and draw any more negative energy. It's because I'm just happy Mercury retrograde is over. So but that's all I'm going to say about that. But so today, guys, we are honored to have the lovely Tomaz Mueller with us again. And it was just great that we could, get him on and spend a little bit. We're running a little late right now, but as always, I'm sure you guys are used to that by now. But let me give Tomaz a brief introduction. And Tomaz Mueller is an author, an energy healer, a well-being artist, and practitioner of Ayurvedic medicine with more than 30 years experience in his field. He helps people to unlock their inner healing potential by supporting and inspiring them to achieve optimal well-being and internal freedom through the use of ancient Ayurveda, quantum healing, and other aspects of Vedic science. And today, we're going to have a discussion with Tomaz about detoxing physically, mentally, spiritually. It's super important right now. You guys, we are at war, and you can see it. We're being bombarded from every avenue, through the air. They're poisoning us through the air, through the words we hear, through our spiritual avenues as well. I mean, you see demon things everywhere now, it's crazy. Just everywhere, through the food that we eat, through the electrical magnetic frequencies. And we're going to touch base on how to protect yourself and how to get yourself back into optimal health so you can fight this war with us. We need you guys. Don't give up on us. Tomaz, it's all up to you now.
Thank you. It's nice. And again, We do apologize for being late, but it's just technology. This is how it happens these days. There is no German approach anymore to meetings. I'm kidding.
I get it, Tomaz.
Here we go. Detox. Oh God. Oh yes. There's so much to talk about. It's like opening Pandora's box. Like Lisa was indicating, there's so many layers to detoxification. And actually, I must be honest, I do not necessarily like the word detox because it has got this connotation, or the association that we do with detox is like something that is painful, something that is not really nice, and it's something that we have to do but we don't really want to do. So maybe we can say, as part of our upgrading process, it's good to look at various aspects of how we can speed up this process of upgrading. And like you said, there are so many aspects that feed into it, like looking at the physical aspects of well-being, the mental aspects, energies, and everything that actually comes, basically feeds into that. So for those who have sort of heard me speaking before, you may remember I keep talking about the 5 elements and the link of the 5 elements to the 5 bodies. So space, air, fire, water, and earth, which are linked to the 5 bodies, the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and energetic body. And when we talk about detox, it is really crucial to understand we need to look at all of those layers, not just thinking about just cutting out certain foods or going on a liquid fast. So maybe why don't we just start off with tapping into each of those 5 layers and briefly, and then see where we sort of where the journey is going to take us. So think about the physical body. In order for us to be ready to let go of any unwanted waste that we carry in our physical body, one crucial element is thinking about tensions, the muscular tensions that we carry in our body. Unless we are in a relaxed space, unless we feel physically relaxed, our muscles, our tissues are in a space where they are able to release, where our lymph system is able to clear any unwanted waste, what is the purpose of doing it? So what I'm basically hinting at is we can try to cut out certain foods, to sort of limit the intake of refined sugars, refined carbohydrates, for example. We can go on fasts, but is our body in a relaxed space physically to clear those toxins? Is the first question that we need to ask. We have just had a couple of weeks ago an amazing weekend retreat where we focused online for 2 days on the aspects of physical detox. And as part of that retreat, those who attended were introduced to the Get Zen method that Dan has developed, which is based on using the principles of Alexander technique, but it goes much deeper than that, which basically sets the foundation, in my view, for any physical detox to occur. I don't know, does that make sense?
Oh, yes, yes.
So, so what I'm basically hinting at is, when you think about detox, what can you do to help your body being able to facilitate a detox regime or a cleansing regime?
Real quick, Tomaz, if anybody wants to watch the replay of that detox retreat, the link is actually in the description of this video. So
thank you.
I've already added that. Yeah.
Yes, that will be great. So, and then we think about, from an Ayurvedic perspective, when we talk about physical detox, we talk about substances, anything that we have ingested that causes obstruction in flow. I'm not going into the technical details of Sanskrit and the different teachings of the Ayurvedic teachings, but basically one of the key elements is obstruction of flow through various substances. In Ayurveda, you would call it ama, A-M-A. Interesting is you could think of American Medical Association as being ama, as being...
Oh.
Okay, that's a little talk on the sideline. So basically, how do we get rid of those toxins, all right? How we can release them. And I always come up with asking people to try out a very, very simple, inexpensive way of getting rid of those toxins. And this is by sipping hot water. Sipping hot water from an Ayurvedic perspective has been around for thousands of years. And what I mean by that is, it is about, for example, in the morning, when you're getting ready, you put a pot of water on the stove, good quality water, you boil it for about 5 or 10 minutes, put it in a thermos flask, and then you start sipping small sips, but frequently. Okay, so it's not about quantity, but it is the frequency that really matters. Small sips on a frequent level. The boiling of the water, what does it do? It basically changes its molecular structure so that the body can absorb it in a much easier way. So you may have heard that some people, depending on their metabolism, they can basically just go on water fast or having liquids only, and they still gain weight. Why is that? Because the body's metabolism is not capable of utilizing the liquid that is going to be brought into the system and to actually flush the toxins out. So by boiling the water, you change its molecular structure, so it becomes lighter, in quotation mark. I know this sounds weird because we think water is light. Yes, in principle, but you need to still have a proper metabolism to actually, for the body to absorb it.
That
So
makes sense though, because like I've never liked drinking cold water. I like drinking like room temperature water. And I always kind of thought it was because I can taste the minerals and stuff more, but it really is, it changes the mouthfeel of it. You can feel it. It's softer when it's warmer.
yes, absolutely. And when you boil it, it makes it even beautifully sweet and very light. And once you get used to it, you don't want to miss it. And of course, depends if you want to lose weight, then I would recommend to have a few sips every about 20 minutes or half an hour. It requires a bit of commitment, but I would like to encourage everybody to try it out. Just give it a go, you know.
But that's awesome. These are things that are very easy and very accessible to everybody. You know,
they don't cost anything.
Mm-hmm.
No expensive supplementation. And I believe anyway, we are moving out of the age of taking supplements and swallowing pills and things like that. Because we are if you look at our community where we sort of connect and where we have conversation, everything boils down to what? To frequency. So yes. Frequency is medicine, and this is where the pyramid, of course, comes in, and we can explore that aspect in a couple of minutes. So by adhering to those simple practices, you prepare the physical body to increase its awareness so that you are able to actually ascertain naturally what feels right for me and what feels wrong, you know? Like rather than me telling you, oh, you should do this and you shouldn't do that, it's better if you figure it out yourself, what works for your physical body, what does make you feel good when you eat it, and of course, there's this whole aspect of where we need to change our habits, where we need to change our programming. And we go in a much greater detail into these aspects within the retreat, where we have ways and means of how to change habits, because then we feed into the emotional detox program, into the mental aspect of it. So I guess what I'm trying to say, very simple, very easy. It just takes your own commitment. Get yourself a thermos flask, keep the water next on your desk, and have a few sips, just plain, no lemon juice, nothing, plain water. And
No
set your-
coffee or tea, right?
I always say you can continue doing your coffee and tea bit as long as you start introducing the hot water. And what you will find is that you gradually start to reduce the consumption of stimulants.
Mhm.
So I'm not saying coffee is bad. I'm not saying tea is bad. This is not what we are talking about. What we are talking about here is about finding for the body, for the physical body, a way to align with its own inner knowledge and knowing. And hot water is one of the simple things. Another Ayurvedic practice is in the morning to have a glass of lukewarm water with a little bit of lemon juice. So lemon juice that helps alkalining the body. So people think, oh, how is it possible? Because lemon is sour and doesn't it make me more acidic? No, it's not the case. In Ayurveda, there's something called the aftertaste. So basically any food that we ingest goes through a process of digestion and then it changes its energetic. So for example, lemon, when it goes through the digestive process, turns from sour into sweet. So it doesn't actually cause any acidity. So yeah, like another way, sipping or having a glass of lukewarm water with the juice of half a lemon or half a lime in the morning is a wonderful way to get your bowels moving, to get your digestive system into a space that it can release and let go of those toxins.
And make sure you use real lemons, not that imitation lemon juice. You know, that would be the
Absolutely.
best.
You're talking about real lemons here. And you
Yeah,
can add
another-
a little bit of honey as well if it feels right for you.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love real honey. One
My
thing that
question-
I did. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Charlie.
I was just going to ask Tomaz, in terms of that topic of sour turning to sweet and so forth and alkaline. I love to put tikka sauce. I bake eggs in the morning in my toaster oven, and I put tikka and Indian masala on my eggs are in them, as they're baking. Would that be analogous? If the sourness of the spiciness, would that also help with alkalinity?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said at the beginning, we could spend an entire day, an entire weekend just on one aspect. You bring the element of spices. This is crucial. Okay, the best way to explain this, we have certain foods that are more challenging to be digested. For example, anything that is quite heavy. When I say about heavy foods, could be anything from sticky kind of porridge consistency, for example, to pasta, to bread, anything that is quite heavy and quite solid. When you use spices that are more heating, it actually counteracts the heaviness of the food that you eat. So this is where the spicing comes in. So you look at what foods are you eating? Are you having, for example, something cold, okay? A cold salad.
Mm-hmm.
Because you brought up the aspect of food. Now here it is. People think salad is light. Oh, I have something easy to digest. I have some light salad and maybe I have it at nighttime. The way of how I experience it and how I see it is that salad is raw. It's raw food. It requires a stronger fire to actually break it down into its constituents once we ingested it into our body, and then it goes through the process of breaking down so that it forms our bodily tissues, for example, the muscles, tissues, joints, and so on. This entire process, basically, you feel today, the way you feel today is based on what you have eaten about 40 days ago. That's how long it takes through the entire process of breaking down your food in your digestive system. Coming back to the salad, what I said, people think, oh, I'll have a salad, it's quite light, it's easy. It requires a lot of heat. It requires a lot of strong metabolism to break down the fire. Okay, and especially in winter time, it's recommended, and please take it or leave it. I'm just sort of sharing my own experience. You need to figure out what works for you, because our digestive system in winter, the body needs to produce more heat. Because there's no heat outside, the sun is not as strong as it is in summertime. The body in itself produces the heat to metabolize, to digest the food. So in winter, we naturally have a craving for warm soups. We have a craving for more heavier and solid foods, okay? This is because naturally our digestion, our body needs to work harder to activate our metabolism. And then once it's activated, having something easy to digest, something light, won't satisfy us. Whereas in summer, it's exactly the opposite. So the sun is quite strong. It's usually, depending on where we live, of course, it's quite hot outside. Naturally, our metabolism shuts down. Mm-hmm. So people tend to have their salad in summertime. But in summertime, actually, our digestion is much more compromised than it is in winter. Mm-hmm. So it would theoretically, of course, there are some exceptions and it's a bit more complex than that. Better to have anything that is heavier, that takes more time to digest in winter time, because we know that the food, we know that whatever we take in, naturally our metabolism is more strong during the winter phase. So when you use spices, use the spices with an understanding, what am I eating? Am I eating something which is light, cold, dry, rough, heavy, slimy, sticky? And that's how you would combine the spicing from an Ayurvedic perspective. So this is a long-winded answer to your question. Yes, definitely using spices within your food helps your food to digest.
Okay.
Very cool. Very cool. I was just going to touch on before that, when we were mentioning coffee. I know coffee is one of the biggest, has one of the most amount of toxins in it. So it's important if you can get a clean coffee. I know it's hard for some people now because, abundance is a little bit scarce, but if you can get a healthier coffee, Kate Dodson actually turned me on to mushroom coffee. She is one of our supporters on here and has used our pyramid energy, but she turned me on to mushroom coffee and it's really good. It gives you more mental clarity, and that's what I've been using. And I prefer to have cream in my coffee, but I found a replacement of MCT oil powder, and it works just like coffee, or just like coffee creamer. And it, so put a little bit of honey in it and you have your alternatives, but it's a lot healthier option for you. So you're not, right when you wake up in the morning, I think that's an important time to start focusing on making your body function properly,
Yes, and also we need to I just like to sort of really point it out here. It's important that we follow whatever works for us, and changing habits take time. It takes time to change habits, and there's so much talk about like coffee in general. It has got also very positive benefits of coffee. But then, like Lisa said, what kind of coffee are you having? If you have decaf, don't use the decaf because it's full of, it is chemicals are being used to strip off the caffeine in the coffee beans. So if you have decaf coffee, look at Swiss water method, for example, which strips off the caffeine in the coffee much more naturally. So I guess what I'm saying here is be conscious, start to take conscious choices. And maybe gradually, as you embark on the journey of adopting a more healthier regime, a regime that becomes a lifestyle rather than a diet, rather than a detox program, you will naturally feel drawn to trying out what Lisa said. Try out mushroom coffee, try out different varieties. And that's the beauty of it. When it becomes a lifestyle, it doesn't become a drag, or it doesn't make you feel as if you miss out on something.
Yeah.
But that's a process. So that's a process in itself. And we shouldn't be too hard with ourselves.
I think that's actually a big thing right now is people are very hard on themselves. People are being bombarded with so much right now and they can't handle it and they're actually giving up. You know, they know that these things are bad for them, but they just continue to ingest them and, you know, attain all of their illnesses to old age, or that it's natural for these things to happen. Once they realize that other people are literally poisoning them and making them feel this way, that should light your fire enough to make you start respecting yourself and respecting the things that you put into your body, you know, and take control of that, you and your family's bodies, you know.
And it is so or can be so shocking if you think about the whole sugar mafia. Like, you think you are getting some good quality food, you go into the supermarket, and then you turn around, you read the label. And I would like to encourage people to start reading labels. And sugar, there's so much sugar that is in every single food, and we try as much as possible to prepare things from scratch. And I don't use ready-made sauces unless there is an emergency or I need to rush, and I can feel it. My body becomes so sensitive. I get ulcers immediately. I have a strong reaction to artificial colors and flavors in food. So my body is giving me, oh, you have played around, here we go. One day later, you'll pay the price for it. So so sugar, refined carbohydrates, all of this. What does sugar do in the body? It basically creates acidity, additional acidity in the body. When your body is strongly acidic, it leads to inflammation. That could be inflammation of the bowels, of the joints, wherever your weak spot is. This is high inflammatory markers. You look at, number one, from a health perspective, what are those foods that actually trigger high inflammatory markers? And this is where refined carbs, sugars would be number one to really consider. And you can have healthy sugars, okay? It doesn't mean that you need to deprive yourself of the sweet taste, you know? So yeah, it's such a vast topic. I want to just finish off when I gave the example of your metabolism needing more support in summer than actually in winter. It's basically the seasons help us, and they have an impact on our metabolism. So naturally, as we continue our journey of, I like to call it our journey of expansion, of growth, we start to realize that our body starts to function differently in summertime than it does in wintertime, because it's all dependent on the seasons. And if you go back in different cultures, they used to have seasonal foods. Even when I grew up, my grandmother, yes, winter, we harvest root vegetables, we have potatoes, we have cabbage, different things of it. And that is considered to be more heavy to digest, but it helps us getting through the winter. In winter, naturally, our digestion is stronger. Where in summer, you have got greens, green leafy vegetables that grow in the garden, carrots. So all of that knowledge, sadly, or let's put it in a positive way, we are invited nowadays that we tap back into that understanding of what grows seasonally. Nowadays, we have access to everything at any time. We go into the supermarket, oh, I can get mangoes in the winter. I can get anything that I want, really. But it's a question, you know? You don't need to be fanatic about it. It's just like, okay, it might be food for thought, you know?
Yeah. Well, I know our Western diet is very high in sugar, you know, that's very intentional as well. But it's also, you know, a lot of awareness is coming to parasite cleanses now, which I'm really happy to see, because most of these, like, for instance, my bad habit is sugar. And when I am emotionally withdrawn or emotional, I will eat a bunch of sugar to feel better. But it's actually feeding the parasites. You know, if you haven't done a parasite cleanse ever in your life, which most people in the West haven't because we're not taught this, we all have parasites. You can pick them up every day just by petting your animal, just by drinking water, you know, just by walking in your bare feet. And they control your body. They control those cravings. So if you're having a hard time stopping these cravings for sugar, it's usually caused by parasites. So just doing a basic parasite cleanse is going to help with that and help, you know, help you lose weight, help you get healthier, get rid of those parasites, get rid of the cravings.
And what we are talking about here is really important: gut health. So basically, the way you think is dependent on how your gut functions. So talking about parasites, we talk about fungus. What feeds fungus? It's sugar. Okay, high sugar feeds the fungus, gas, bloating, indigestion, all of those symptoms that play a role. So of course, it's always advisable, if you're taking it serious, to seek advice of a healthcare professional when it comes to certain health issues. So, but in general, the best thing you can do is just reduce the amount of sugars, refined sugars that you take in your body, start sipping of hot water, alkaline your body. You talk about parasites, and we will touch upon this in a minute. It's also about energetic parasites. So it's not just the parasites that lurk in our gut and that sort of give us this cravings. Oh, give me more sugar. I need some sugar. So there are all the other parasites as well. I want to say also a very quick way, a very good way to start shifting, to increase your awareness what suits your body and what not, is intermittent fasting. And I'm a very, very great believer of intermittent fasting. Personally, I must admit, I have been slightly more irregular in the last few months, but over the last 4 or 5 years, I have done pretty much on a regular basis, once a week, 24, 36 hours of just water fast, or at least a coffee or something, which will help reset your entire gut bacterial. It will give the body a chance to digest all this stuff that is in our system and can't get rid of it. It's like, because we keep putting stuff in our body, and the body can't release it, you know. That's what causes all those AMA or toxins in the physical body. You don't need to go straightly hardcore 18 hours, 24 hours fast. Even giving 12 hours, 14 hours fast is great. Let's, for example, say, have your last meal at 7 o'clock, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, and then fast until next day in the morning after lunch. It's a wonderful way to reset your patterns and your system.
I have
Cool.
never really fasted like intentionally. I need to definitely try it out. I've been wanting to, but I do attain me sleeping. I like to sleep a lot. I need at least 9 to 12 hours of sleep. And then I was never a breakfast eater, you know, so I wouldn't eat until the afternoon. So I would kind of attain that to a fasting period.
I had an experience doing that about 10 years ago. Every Wednesday I fasted for 20 that day. I just drank water. And then I said, well, let's see if we can go 2 days. And then the next week I went 3 days and 4 days and 5 days. I got up to 6 days of water fasting. And that's when I kind of stopped. But I was just starting to feel weak, and I'm not surprised, but it's amazing what it does to your body. I was so peaceful at the end of that period. I can't even describe it. I don't know why, but maybe you could explain that.
It's basically,
or is there a way to explain it?
because the body is starting to utilize its resources. It's like optimizing your waste disposal system in your physical body. So basically, finally, your body gets a chance to clear all the rubbish and the waste out of your system. The body gets a chance to use its own resources, which is basically the fatty deposits in the tissues, and especially around the organs and organ systems, is starting to be eaten up. And then the organs, it's like, oh, I can breathe. Finally, this layer that has sort of clouded my liver, clouded my organs, is starting to peel off, and I can function in a more optimal way. It has so many benefits, from increasing your immunity to increasing your energy levels, mental clarity, and it does do wonder. And it's just one of the magic absolute musts, in my view, to slowly ease yourself into it and maybe consider it. And I remember when I started, I really felt lots of headaches and I didn't feel comfortable, but you get used to it and your body is like, thank God I've got a break and I can actually breathe, and you get so much more done on the day, for me at least.
Yeah, no, all of those things. And I finally just kind of said, well, maybe this isn't good for me. I didn't know how long I should go, but after 6 days just kind of seemed like maybe I ought to stop. But it was I felt so good.
Yes. And then there's another science to how to reintroduce food again. That's another subject. So it's really important to to respect our physiology and to be gentle with ourselves. Before we move on to the other layers in Ayurveda, and Lisa, you mentioned it, I think in a message or something, I can't remember. One way of measuring how toxic your body is, if you look at the coating of your tongue in the morning. So in Ayurveda, there's an ancient practice that uses tongue scraping. So you use a silver tongue scraper. There's a reason why silver. Now, of course, because Ayurveda has become more popular, all the commercial whatever enterprises start to pick it up. Oh, you have a plastic tongue scraper, copper tongue scraper, this or that. Traditionally, you use silver. Why? Because when silver gets in contact with the saliva, microparticles of that silver are being released, and they act as a natural immune stimulant. So you scrape your tongue from the back to the front, and that coating is basically the amount of toxins that your body carries. Plus, when you scrape your tongue in the morning, and please do not use toothbrushes, because you scrape that toxins back into your tongue rather than actually getting rid of it. You're better off using a spoon or something. The tongue is like a reflex zone of our physical body, like the soles of the feet. All the organs and organ systems have got their place on the tongue. And by scraping the tongue, you naturally say, good morning, liver, good morning, colon, good morning, my lungs, wake up. So it naturally increases the stimulation, it stimulates the blood circulation in those organs that encourages detoxification.
So that
Yes.
actually was what enticed me to get a hold of you, Tomaz, was I remember you speaking, or JCK speaking about you touching on this subject on one of her videos years ago. And I recently started tongue scraping as well, oil pulling on top of it. And maybe you can get into a little bit of that as well, a combination of the oil pulling. I actually, so real quick to touch, a silver tongue scraper, I bought it on Etsy. It was a handmade one. It was like $75. They're kind of expensive right now, but they're very well worth it. But if you get rid of your toothpaste, you know, I just use bentonite clay and I just brush my teeth with that. And
Yes.
that can last you all year. You know, you can save that money that you were going to spend on your toothpaste every couple weeks for the
Yes.
silver tongue scraper. But there's ways around these, you know, to work these into your life, and they're going to be way more beneficial for you.
Absolutely. And like I said, you can use always a spoon, turn a spoon upside down, and then scrape your tongue with a spoon. But I find it a bit difficult because it's quite big and this gag reflex may kick in. So tongue scraper is much easier to handle. So gargling, yes. See, Lisa and Charlie, I find it fascinating. When I wrote my book, The Spiritual Health Metrics, a couple of years ago, and I was doing some research into the health benefits of oil gargling and oil swishing. In a way, my pitta, I was getting quite upset and quite annoyed because, like I said, people who start to commercialize everything that is been there for thousands of years, they want to make it more fancy. Oh, you should use coconut oil to swish in your mouth, or better to use almond oil, add this essential oil to it. No. From my perspective, less is more, simple, get good quality, organic, cold pressed sesame oil. And this is not the cooking oil. You don't need to add any essential oils to it. And then you take a tablespoon, you swish it in your mouth, in between your teeth, for example. And I do it, when I do it, I usually incorporate it in my daily morning routine, like I have it in my mouth before I have a shower, or when I prepare my breakfast or a drink. So keep it in for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, if that feels comfortable, and then you can spit it out. So it helps with prevention of gum disease, plaque formation. It increases your ability it increases your taste buds. There's so many benefits with the oil swishing. And why sesame oil? There's a reason. The ancient rishis of the ancient Vedic civilizations, they must have had a reason. And the reason is sesame oil has a very particular molecular structure. It has got a heating potency, which coconut oil doesn't have. Coconut oil is much heavier. So sesame oil actually penetrates through the tissues much easier. And because of this heating aspect of sesame oil, it pulls out the toxins much more effectively. So that's why I sometimes get a bit irritated when the new age community jumps on a bandwagon and tries to make it a bit more fancy, and I need to be more special and I need to add this and that to it. This is my pitta starting to come up, and I get really sometimes irritated. And the whole story with turmeric. You know, turmeric has been around for thousands of years. And all of a sudden, turmeric latte, the fact is, and then we will stop with the physical aspects. The fact is, when you work with turmeric, when you use turmeric in your food, you need to consider how can you make it absorbable? How can you increase its absorbability? There's no point in putting tons of turmeric in your food if your body doesn't absorb it. So what turmeric requires is piperine in black pepper to actually extract the curcumin in the turmeric to have its health benefit, and it needs oil. So when you, for example, cook your rice, you can put a little bit of turmeric into the rice, add some cracked pepper, a little bit of olive oil or any kind of oil to help release the chemical compound that is useful. So, and it's not about buying turmeric. I mean, I'm sorry, I'll make a tread on dangerous grounds here. Buy turmeric capsules and all of that. It's like, oh, I get sometimes really irritated and frustrated, and people believe it, and then they wonder, why does it not work? And all of those.
I read about the turmeric and the black pepper years ago. So I knew what you were talking about with that, but I think it increases the bioavailability of the turmeric by like 4,000%, something crazy like that. Exactly. Just by adding the black pepper. And I want to touch real quick before we go into the next one, the next layer. But if you get an oil, any type of oil, make sure it's in a glass bottle or a glass container. BP oils, butters, oils, they pull the chemicals from the plastic containers that they're in. So they leach the BPA in the container into the oils, and even BPA free. You know, we know there's different things in it that are not good for you as well. So I always just make sure to look for a glass bottle with any oils that I get. And then mouth health, you know, that is very, very important. You know, there's actually, I just heard a doctor talking about 90% of women who get breast cancer had a root canal done on the same side of their body that the tumor was found. Heart disease, it's linked to mouth health as well, you know, and you can see that with thermography, the link directly, the channel directly from the infected tooth all the way to the breast or the heart.
Exactly. I mean, that opens up the entire discussion on mercury fillings and what kinds of fillings go in there. And what I was going to say is, it's actually more dangerous to kiss a human being than actually kissing a dog, because there's so many bacteria that swirl around in the mouth. And when you don't, for example, scrape your tongue, if you don't do the oil swishing, you're creating a constant drip. So all of those toxins constantly go back through your system, through the channels back into your physical body. So it's about just finding ways of clearing it. It's another massive topic, and there's an entire book written on helping understanding. I think it's called Oral Hygiene, something, I can't remember what the title is, where all of the many diseases are linked to oral hygiene, what Lisa was mentioning in terms of teeth and tooth infections, everything that comes and goes.
I live with a holistic dentist. Maybe we ought to have Carol come on and talk about that. She's done that for me. Every tooth is associated with a part of the body, and good health starts in the mouth. You bet.
Exactly. So you can see that I'm very, very passionate. You get me started and I can't stop talking. But let's look at the other aspects. So thinking about emotional detox. We have looked at the physical aspects, emotional detox. This leads into dealing with trauma. As I said at the beginning, it is tension in our physical body, and our body holds any traumatic events, any memories are stored in our muscular, in our physical body. So it requires ways of dealing with those traumatic events or anything that basically upsets us, thinking about simple things. It doesn't need to be any violent abuse or anything like that, but simply being down, feeling depressed, feeling angry, feeling negative about ourselves, our emotions, upset, our metabolism and our digestion. So if we are emotionally down, we don't feel, either we feel like eating crap, or we feel like we don't want to eat. Why is that? Because it has a direct link to the physical aspect of well-being.
Yeah, the two different nervous systems, parasympathetic or sympathetic. You know, I
Yes.
know a lot of people like to be, oh, I like to eat on my way home because it's relaxing, but your body is not in the receptive mode to digest those foods because you're still in fight or flight. You might feel more relaxed than when you were at work, you know,
Yeah.
but you're now in fight or flight because there's things jumping out at you, there's cars coming at you, you know, and it's sad because most people live in that high stress fight or flight and aren't relaxing through meditation, through enjoying what they're eating and allowing their body to heal. You know, that's the healing phase of your body, getting proper sleep, you know.
Yeah. I mean, sleep is a big one as well, because your body needs energy to detox, and your body needs actually energy to sleep. So if you feel tired and you can't sleep, it's because you haven't got the energy to sleep. Sounds really quite sort of intertwined and complex. But what you were saying with regards to eating habits, Ayurveda recommends that, or even try it out, sit in silence when you eat. Just sit down, don't watch TV, sit down and try to chew your food properly, you know, and maybe just spend some time silently eating, and then you will know, oh, actually, I am full quite early, you know, like usually when you eat big amounts and you feel like you're eating too much. But if you sit in silence and you just focus on what you're doing, focus on the eating, you feel like much better control of how much food you actually consume.
Yeah.
So this is the whole aspect of the emotional eating, dealing with your feelings, and then that feeds into habit. How can we change habits, you know?
Yeah,
and
not even just eating, but emotional trauma causes alcoholism. It causes drug addiction, you know, and I keep telling people that, you know, the drug addicts and the alcoholics in the world, the people that are shunned from everybody else, you know, thinking they're nobodies, you know, trying to treat them like they're our most powerful spiritual warriors there are. They feel, they know that there's more going on in this life, and they just have been, I guess, hiding from the fact, you know, with the drugs and the alcoholism. But once they overcome that and are clear-minded and able to fight, there's no stopping them, you know?
I mean, there's another very, very interesting aspect, and it is becoming more and more clear to me, having been in the field of health for over 35 years, that you were talking about parasite, you were talking now about alcohol and addictions. So a very big factor in this whole process is energies, negative energies and energy attachments, talking about ancestral baggage that we carry. And I share this because when I take people through the Soul Center Healing Hypnosis sessions, it's so interesting to see that it is often linked to some energy attachments, some demonic or darker energies. Let's not even go there. It's not to scare people off, but if we are out in the world and we don't protect ourselves through various means, we open ourselves up to those negative attachments. So those attachments sit in our physical body, and very much so in our second energy center, in the sacral center. When people have addiction and problems with addictions, it doesn't matter which kind of addiction, it is rooted in attachments, spirit attachments, energy attachments, dense energy in the sacral center. And by clearing those attachments, people naturally start to experience a different way of communicating, understanding themselves. And these attachments we carry often through generations. They can be linked to past lifetimes, past lifetime experiences that we carry. All that trauma can sit in there. So it's so big, it's so vast, that entire topic. So parasites, not just physical parasites, but parasites that are literally attached.
Yeah.
to-
Well, I think mental health conditions have a lot of, to do with that as well. They're picking up energies throughout their day from other people. If you're walking down the street, well, our aura expands around our body at least 8 feet. And if our aura brushes against somebody else's aura, we can instantly pick up on their feelings, their thoughts, their emotions. You could instantly be walking down the street and brushed by somebody in a bad mood, and just all of a sudden you're in a bad mood for no reason. It's because you picked it up from somebody else. And so I feel like a lot of the mental issues that are happening in the world right now are just things being picked up from other people, and negative energy attachments, like you said.
Yes. And this is where protection comes in, which leads us to the energetic body, energetic detox. Number one, of course, just really, and I struggle with it, I do admit, getting sort of off my phone, getting off computers at nighttime, all the shielding that comes with it, the smog that we basically put onto ourselves. And this is where this comes in. Pyramid is a very, very important element in this whole process of protecting your energetic field, and allow your body, your energy body, time to recharge and to raise the vibration, to strengthen your energy field. So yeah, like thinking about electrosmog, the electromagnetic fields that we are surrounded with, especially when you live in an urban environment, when you live in the city. So thinking about what can you do? This number one. Number two, besides the pyramid, Shungite. Shungite is a very, very, for me, it's an absolute must these days. And I do wear a Shungite necklace as well.
I have a whole bowl of shungite that has been sitting in my pyramid charging for months. So I'm going to start offering that on my website soon as well. Charged shungite jewelry.
Absolutely.
Charged, yeah.
Very good way. And I've measured it actually. I measured it with, there's a little unit that I have that can measure the electromagnetic field around me. And literally, when I put the shungite around the router in the house and measure it, it just really goes to levels that are not harmful, literally. And of course, the pyramid is another very good way of shielding ourselves off from those energetic parasites, really.
Yeah. Another easy thing you can do, it's not going to cost you anything, it might even save you some money, is just when you are going to bed, unplugging the router to or the modems, to your Wi-Fi. And because, if you're in between your kids' room and the modem, you're sleeping in that stream of energy that's manipulating your energy, and you can't get proper sleep, you can't heal properly.
And also go and ground yourself in the evening, go barefoot, stand outside in the grass to just earth yourself, ground yourself. It's a very good way to clear your energy field. Have salt bath, Epsom salt bath, for example. Very good to, not just for pain, but also to clear your energy field. There's so much, like Lisa said, that doesn't necessarily need to cost very much, but you can actually do to help yourself.
And touching on the Epsom salt, the magnesium that's in it, that's really what helps with proper sleep. For years, I was a very light sleeper. I could hear my puppy peeing on the carpet 3 rooms away and wake up out of a sound, supposed sound sleep. But magnesium was the only thing that would help me. I would take a magnesium supplement or an Epsom salt bath, and I would sleep soundly all through the night. But that was because of my high sugar diet. Because for every molecule of sugar that you eat, it depletes your body of like 4 molecules or something like that of magnesium. So everybody is magnesium deficient, and every function of your body needs magnesium to work properly. So it makes sense just doing simple things like that. And it's cheap. A bag of Epsom salts, it's like $5 for a huge bag. It's cheap.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we come to the mental aspect. Mental detox is really starting to observe your negative thought patterns. And in the retreat, For those who choose to get the access to the retreat recordings, I talk about the OBC technique, which is a technique that I have sort of developed over years that helps with dealing with repetitive thought patterns. It helps with clearing or changing old habits. So one of the practices is to start to observe what goes on in your mind. So becoming aware of the thoughts that you actually think. And of course, again, the pyramid will help to stillen the mind and to actually bring to surface those unhealthy thought patterns and thoughts that we carry. And then there's no better way of actually enhancing your meditation practice than sitting under the pyramid and doing your meditation and calming the mind, becoming aware of the thoughts that we think and how they help us or can be counterproductive to our detoxification process, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just to finish up real quick, let me touch on some more things that the pyramid can actually help you with to help with your detox. It actually, like Tomaz touched on already, it helps with your meditation. So, you know, it helps with you eliminating those harmful thoughts from your mind. You know, it allows you to be receptive to the divine intervention and that's always coming to you. It helps you open your channels to hear that more. One study they did in Russia as well was on poisons. They would put poisons inside the pyramid and it would deplete the toxicity of the poison. You know, so that alone tells me it does the same thing to us when we sit inside of it. If we have toxins in our body, it's going to help release those toxins and help remove them.
The key is what you point out is the point that I was trying to make at the beginning. Your body needs to be in a parasympathetic mode to actually release those toxins. And people get problems, they have got headaches and all the detox symptoms, partially, of course, it's not just black and white, partially because they are constantly in fight and flight mode. And then they're trying to release any toxins. So pyramid will help you to get into that relaxed space to prepare the physical, mental, emotional, energetic and spiritual body to release anything that doesn't serve us any longer.
And even if you don't have time to sit in the pyramid, you know, at least put water in there and let the water charge and use that for your warm water. You know, it alone, just putting the pyramid inside is going to make the particles more bioavailable to you. You're going to have it's going to have a softer mouthfeel than the regular water, but it also is charged with the healing ability of the pyramid as well. So on all layers, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So it'll be just like sitting inside the meditation pyramid if you drink that. If you're an energy healer or if you get an energy healing from somebody, a lot of people are doing it remotely where they are at their home and you're at your home. If you have a pyramid, sit inside your pyramid during that healing session and it's going to be way more powerful. It's going to be a quicker connection. It's going to be a lot stronger. If you have supplements, put your supplements inside the pyramid, you know, your vitamins and supplements, because that's another thing that they found in the Russian studies was if they put supplements inside the pyramid, it charged the potency of up to 1,000%, depending on what it was.
Yeah, I've done the experiment with using the Bovis chart, and when I use certain remedies, I've got I'm very excited. I will be launching some of the first products myself in a couple of weeks' time, which is an oil blend, which is called Divine Defense, which is basically come to me in meditation about 1.5 years ago. I was sitting there and the formula was given to me with one of my spirit guides in meditation. And I've taken that oil, the oil mix, which is basically to protect your energetic field. And I have literally used the Bovis chart to measure the frequency. And then I put the oil into the pyramid and it has tripled in terms of the frequency within a very short period of time.
Wow, nice. That's good to know. That's good to know. That's very awesome.
Yeah.
When are you coming out with that?
Sorry, with the oil?
Mm-hmm.
In the next couple of weeks. So we are working on the whole thing, and will all be, it's based on 6 biblical oils that are being used with very high frequency oils. But then of course it's the blending and adding the frequencies to the oil, and it will be in the form of a roll-on. So it's very easy for people to apply and to work with. So all those tools we have. And thank goodness we are tapping back into these ancient knowledge systems. And this is where Charlie's wonderful researchers come in, because otherwise we wouldn't have had this beautiful understanding about the pyramids. It's about tapping into what is already there. We just need to remember, like my grandmother used to tell me, if you want to get a good, decent sleep, then you have to go to bed before 10 o'clock, because otherwise you miss the last train of the angels. She had no idea about Ayurveda, but somehow this knowledge, this ancient wisdom, it doesn't matter which culture you follow, is in our DNA. And we are just there to bring it back again, to help people remembering again what they already know. And so much knowledge about the pyramids, there's so much understanding, but also misconception. And Charlie, of course, you would be the expert in that, about pyramids and how they are, the differences and everything that comes with it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, to summarize it all up, is it's about, are you making a commitment to yourself? Are you truly committed to your journey of just helping your body, respecting your physical body, your mental, emotional body? It's a matter of respect. It's a sacred vessel. And are you actually looking after that vessel? Or are you just, and it's okay, you know, if that's the choice that you make, that you don't really feel like doing anything of that. But then, of course, as a consequence, this system is very likely to break down sooner or later. But with what is available to us, with regular cleansing and detox regimes, now is a very good time, because we move into spring. So spring is a very good time, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, to actually detox, because as the days become longer, as the sun becomes stronger and increases in intensity, it will help melting the toxins in our physical body. Like the ice starts to melt in the higher levels of the mountains, this time of the season supports detox regimes. That's why people suffer so much from respiratory allergies, because it's that season where all those toxins start to melt and the body wants to get rid of them. So much to chat about. Sorry, I've been talking a lot, and you can tell that if you get me started, I don't know how to stop.
No,
So,
that's why we love having you on, because you're
That's
knowledgeable
right.
in
That's
so
right.
much. You know. Did you have any last words, Charlie?
Well, I just had a question for you. I mean, I think that all of these, energy bodies that we all have are interrelated, or almost like harmonics of each other. Am I correct in that? And will an impact at the physical level, or a detox at the physical level, help with detoxing in other levels, and vice versa? That's my question, I guess.
Absolutely, 100,000%. So definitely it's all intertwined, and one will impact and feed onto the other. And some people, and then I will stop, I promise I will stop. Some people, they find it very difficult to change their dietary habits, but yet they find it easy. Oh, I can see myself doing some meditation, or I can see myself going out and putting my feet on grass and starting to clear my energy field. And if that's your calling, do this. because as you do this, naturally, at some stage, you feel like, oh, I think now is the time I need to look after my physical body. Or other people find it difficult to meditate. They can't sit still. But yes, I can see myself sipping hot water or doing a fast. So that's how one layer feeds into the other, and listen to what feels right for you. That's so important. Doesn't matter what I say, what anybody says. It's about increasing your own awareness, raise your vibration, raise your frequency, and then health and healing will become a natural byproduct.
In divine timing, of course.
In divine time.
Well, thank
Fantastic.
you. Thank you so much, Tomaz, for being with us again. We look forward to seeing you and hearing from you again. Well, there's so much that you are knowledgeable in. We love having you on.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. We'll get our stuff together a little bit more organized next time. We promise. So take care, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Is he gone? I guess so. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
there